which is today we know as National Cybersecurity Agency. I hope this is more than enough introduction about these entities. And now, since after post, Corona time, the entities were again separated or splitted back to their normal, operations. So the Ministry of Transport was been separated, and MCIT is now working independently as IT ministry, and NCSA is there as a new established agency responsible for developing the cybersecurity standards. And other than that, what we need to know is the Communication Regulation Authority, which recently has actually developed a cloud framework for the National Cloud Framework, which we will discuss about in a bit. And then we do have industry-specific regulators in Qatar, which includes, for example, Qatar Central Bank, which acts as a regulator for the BFSI industry. Qatar Petroleum, formerly known as Qatar Petroleum, now it's changed to Qatar Energy, which acts as the regulator for oil and gas industry. And then we have MOPH, Ministry of Public Health, which acts as a regulator for the health and care industry. So these are some sort of responsible to develop the regulations and the standards specific to the industry requirements. And they are leading their own industry-specific cybersecurity initiatives, such as sectoral SOCs. Idea is still going on, and that more we can talk about. Please keep these questions and the pointers with you as to discuss more in detail as part of the questions. I would prefer having more deeper dive discussions and interactive as part of the Q&A on these specifics of these initiatives. Then we do have second category global tech players. So there was a need felt that the business has to be more local, delivered to the end customers in a more localized fashion. So there was a discussion started before Corona era with the Microsoft and Qatar government in order to address their so-called
Welcome to Global Information Security Society for Professionals of Pakistan.
Yeah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. First of all, बहुत शुक्रिया शिजा साहब, आपने मौका दिया थोड़ी सी कतर के हवाले से बात करने का. So primarily the session is going to be focused on more understanding the cybersecurity landscape within Qatar, which is mandatory to know the ecosystem and the dynamics around for cybersecurity professionals working inside Qatar and who are working in the region as part of SIs or consultancy firms who wanted to penetrate within the Qatar market, or maybe back in Pakistan as well. So सबके लिए थोड़ा कोशिश करेंगे just to highlight the factors what all of us we need to understand in order to create our own stake and in the market and penetrate well and become the first or the preferred choice for Qatari buyer in the domain of cybersecurity. So primarily going to talk about the national cybersecurity landscape within Qatar, regardless of which type of organization you are working with, but as far as you are directly or indirectly related to the cybersecurity field and working in Qatar, so this session is going to help you a lot. So before we start the session, we do have some general guidelines which I have been instructed to speak loud about, which is everyone needs to be respected. So if you are using Zoom for the first time to attend a GSSP session, then these guidelines are there on the screen, please, for all the participants. just to make sure that we do have a very purposeful and well benefited session, so that everyone respects, to keep the mics mute and no chats, and there will be the Q&A session towards the end of the um, presentation. And then if anyone would like to ask a question, please raise a hand, so the moderator will give a chance according to the turn. So let's move on then. So these are our GISPP social media links, which everyone needs to be aware of, as whoever is part of the GISPP. So they can basically receive the updates, be connected, and socialize with the other group or community members. So introduction. So my name is Ahmed Javed, and I'm a senior digital trust advisor, working in Middle East for the past couple of decades. Quite a diversified, profile, starting from GRC, data privacy, BCM, architecture, designing SOCs. So most of the time was been consultancy, and now from past few years got into the business. So within an entrepreneurial acumen within the cybersecurity and resilience business, was been delivering several projects within the region, and part of some of the forums as well, where I do speak and share expertise as well. So and been with the GISPP from quite a long time. It's been several years now. So got to know a lot of industry professionals, Pakistani cybersecurity industry professionals from this forum. So thanks to Siddharth Bhai for all his efforts and leadership to give us a chance to share, expertise and the knowledge. So let's start. Let's deep dive on the Qatar cybersecurity landscape. So first, what we need to understand here, from a mindset, from a Qatar market, considering from a geopolitical standpoint, it's a very small market which has a strong regional impact from the neighbors as well. So what I'm referring to is the recent past, with the recent few years, when we have observed a lot of the irregularities in the market. Per se, we can consider like few examples because of the natural calamities like pandemic, like blockade, a geopolitical situation as well. And then we were been, the center of the global spotlight because of the hosting, the global event FIFA. So there were a lot of ups and downs in the market, and a lot of new dynamics have been keep changing, and quite dynamic as well. Actors were playing up and down, trying to stabilize their revenue streams, and where global players came into the picture as well. So until unless we understand all of these, the key players within this ecosystem, we will not be able to perform well, regardless of the fact, like whether you're working for an end customer organization who are looking for a better roles within the Qatar market, within the field of cybersecurity, or you are part of any system integrator or any consultancy firm who are looking for cybersecurity related business, or trying to establish a footprint if you're part of any startup and newly established consultancy or services firm. So either way, we need to understand all of these full ecosystem first here, and then we can able to better strategize that how we should come up with the go-to-market plan or our penetration strategy within the market. So before we start, if you have any questions, anything, I think when it's better, it's quite recommended by the from the the similar practice we're gonna follow from the previous sessions as well, that will keep the question and answer session towards the end of the discussion. And in the meanwhile, I'll just quickly go through these slides just to give a quick flavor on the landscape, and then we can have a interactive discussion later on. So starting from here, this is all completely from my experience and from my point of view. Everyone can agree or disagree or compliment or on the discussion though. But from my understanding from working in this market from past several years, I divide the key players in the ecosystem in four categories, starting from the regulators, which have the strongest influence in defining and establishing the the business norms for the technology domain. So starting from the most important one, which is sorry, it's a spell mistake. It's MCIT, which is basically the IT ministry here, which is responsible to define the technology ecosystem here and um, technology related or digital frameworks. And they are responsible to manage and maintain the government national network as well, which is called as GN. So government network, which is used primarily to connect all the government entities together. Second one is the NCSA, which is a regulator who is responsible to define the national cybersecurity standards. Now, anyone who is new in the market might not be aware of their relation together. So it's important to understand the bit of background of these two entities and their relation, so that so that they can navigate better in terms of when they are discussing with the customers or their managements, and in the phase of developing the business cases or pitching in their what do you call sales pitches or the proposal discussions. So I'm sorry. So back in 2020, before Corona era, the MCIT was separate, and there was no NCSA. It's a newly established organization. So there was only MOI, which is Ministry of Interior, used to look into the technology side as well as part of their department called as cybercrime or something. So they have uh, they have a separately defined one department which we used to call as CSC, Cybersecurity Center. So it used to be part of Ministry of Interior, and rest in as part of MCIT, they were just primary role was to maintain their government network and support all the required services to maintain that network so that all the government entities can interact with each other and so forth. However, they have introduced a new department which used to called as QCERT, Emergency Response Team, and that sector was still there at the time of blockade during around 2018 and post 2018. There was a blockade time when Qatar government has decided to merge few of the government entities together and for the cost cutting purposes or whatever. So MCIT was integrated along with the Ministry of Transport as well. So it used to be called as MOTC, Ministry of Transport and Communication. So MOTC used to have three sectors. One sector was a government, which they used to call as ICT, which were responsible to take care of the national digital technology infrastructure. The other one was QCERT, which was acting as a regulator for cybersecurity standards and so forth. And one was a corporate sector, which was taking care of their own internal technology infrastructure as a corporate. So later on, when the discussions, started, and there was a need felt that, we need to formalize and regulate more effectively in terms of developing and rolling out the national standards. So Ministry of Interior Department, Cybersecurity Center, and the MOTC sector, QCERT, was joined and was formed a new agency, which is today we know as National Cybersecurity Agency. I hope this is more than enough introduction about these entities. And now, since after post, Corona time, the entities were again separated or splitted back to their normal, operations. So the Ministry of Transport was been separated, and MCIT is now working independently as IT ministry, and NCSA is there as a new established agency responsible for developing the cybersecurity standards. And other than that, what we need to know is the Communication Regulation Authority, which recently has actually developed a cloud framework for the National Cloud Framework, which we will discuss about in a bit. And then we do have industry-specific regulators in Qatar, which includes, for example, Qatar Central Bank, which acts as a regulator for the BFSI industry. Qatar Petroleum, formerly known as Qatar Petroleum, now it's changed to Qatar Energy, which acts as the regulator for oil and gas industry. And then we have MOPH, Ministry of Public Health, which acts as a regulator for the health and care industry. So these are some sort of responsible to develop the regulations and the standards specific to the industry requirements. And they are leading their own industry-specific cybersecurity initiatives, such as sectoral SOCs. Idea is still going on, and that more we can talk about. Please keep these questions and pointers with you as to discuss more in detail as part of the questions. I would prefer having more deeper dive discussions and interactive as part of the Q&A on these specifics of these initiatives. And then we do have second category, global tech players. So there was a need felt that the business has to be more local, delivered to the end customers in a more localized fashion. So there was a discussion started before Corona era with the Microsoft and Qatar government in order to address their so-called cybersecurity and privacy related concerns, because they do not want to host their national sort of data across border. So as most of us, we know that there is an agreement now between Qatar government and Microsoft that Microsoft has launched their own localized zone, which is, we call it as local Qatar Azure zone. So MS Azure as a local Qatar specific cloud platform that's leading the market, and most of the government entities' data has been hosted on that Azure instance. On the other side, by following or the global race, the Google followed the same pattern. They came in, and now they have back in June they have launched their own data center as well here, which was a big history. And now I think in the region as well, they are establishing their strong footprint. I heard in Saudi as well, they have already launched. So they are here as well in order to address the data sovereignty issues, so that government entities can host and non-government entities can host the data on this thing. Amazon is part of the discussions. They are trying to figure out that how much stake they're gonna get if they get in here, because they are already have a well-established footprint in neighboring countries such as Bahrain and UAE. And of course, considering the KSA is a very big market, everyone have a pie there. And then we have a big four consultancy firms, Deloitte, PwC, KPMG, EY. So I think there's no doubt about it, like most of the big four firms, especially which are focusing on non-technical services, particularly pure professional services, they are struggling, or they are struggling to survive, I would say. So business, they are not doing very well, I would say. This is the general impression in the market. However, the tech companies, they are doing really well because once you sell a box in an organization, then that customer is yours for the whole life cycle of that box. You name it. Let's start with the Cisco. Most of our technology or network infrastructure is Cisco based in Qatar. That helps a lot for the new players who come in the market. And then, of course, Palo Alto has a strong, a significantly strong stake as well, along with Cisco in technology infrastructures components. Then we got regional players. Regional players, so multinational corporations such as, I would name it, let's suppose, as for the sake of discussion, is those group of companies who are willing to invest in the technology and expand their businesses. They are coming in the Qatar market mostly from UAE based organizations, and trying to make their stakes, or in get their stake in the oil and gas sector as well. But they have not been able to been very successful post blockade era, because it's strongly discouraged now here in Qatar market that any companies who are having a UAE sort of background are not very uh, um, warm welcomed, I would say. So then we have regional SIs, and let's name by name, like GBM is one of the name. There are some of the other names who have regional offices and a shared resource of pool, a pool of resources, which basically they leverage on the shared pool of the resources to deliver their projects. And that helps a lot, but they have some of the stake as well here. But the most, I think, the dynamics or have been changed for these regional SIs after the blockade and the Corona time in Qatar market, because in the past there used to be the regional SIs and the global, or the MNCs. They used to have the base in UAE, and that was a typical became a trend that most of the companies were having their main base or head offices there back in UAE and work at anywhere in the region. But blockade has actually bifurcated, or they divided the region into two. So those companies who are based in UAE were not been able to directly operate here in Qatar. And then that's why Qatar, Oman, and Kuwait become one block, and the other countries are the other block. So that's basically have impacted a lot for those regional SIs who were not been able to cope up with this change, to have multi set of pools of resources within the different countries. So they a lot of companies give up that as well. So it's market have opened doors for more product vendors who started coming directly in Qatar, not via UAE, to start discussing directly with the end customers, and those were welcomed as well. And then we got UAE-based startups, which are again now, I think, after the initiative of Qatar Financial Center, who are welcoming these startups, and the technology or digital related startups, and endorsed by MCIT as well, are quite a lot increasing now in the market here locally. and that we will discuss about that in a while. So those local startups have actually taken up a high and not letting UAE-based startups coming in, the old, very small one desk or two desk companies, which were quite a very common trend in the past to get the deals by those small startups by offering the same type of services in a very much cheaper rate. So that's the thing which we need to understand. Then we had the last type category, which are local players. We have a conglomerate. Conglomerates are multi-business group of companies. You name it, like starting from Manai, Almana, or quite a lot are there who are willing to invest, and they can support the continuous investment to grow the technology businesses. And this is what they're taking the more stake into that, such as Misa is part of the Qatar Foundation and so forth. So they are taking quite a good amount of or a healthy stake within the market. And then we have local SIs, you name it, GBM is operating, Alumat is operating here, QCS, QDS. So they are all primarily focusing on, which is a general impression is a box selling approach was there, which didn't work out in the past. So they figured it out now that because of the changing dynamics within the market, particularly post FIFA, is because most of the investment in Qatar market was government driven in order to develop the technology infrastructure to prepare or make the whole country ready to deliver the FIFA event. So now post FIFA event, now the most of the companies, businesses have been transformed into more maintenance or facility management kind of a business. So that's why the managed services model is picking up now, and it's quite gone high. And considering the skill set shortage in the market, I think there are a lot of staff augmentation businesses going on, which is become a bread and butter or the main core revenue stream for the local SIs and local startups. So any questions on this slide, gentlemen? If you have any questions, let's discuss about this thing and then we will move on. Yeah, so Ghulam Murtaza has raised hand. Yes, Ghulam bhai, if you have any questions, please you can put in chat or something.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for this opportunity. First of all, I introduce myself. I am working in cybersecurity field since 2013, and I
Please
belong.
don't take me wrong, but kindly, just post your question, and then
Yes, sir.
because we will keep continue on the discussions. I need
Okay.
another 20-25 minutes. Please, thank you so much.
ओके सर, अगर कोई बंदा पाकिस्तान से कोई स्टार्टअप स्टार्ट करना चाहता है कतर के लिए, तो उसके लिए क्या रेगुलेशंस एंड लॉज होंगे? क्या वो यहाँ से बैठ के बंदा कर सकता है रिमोटली, या कोई वहां पे उसको फिजिकल बनाना पड़ेगा सेटअप वगैरह?
Yeah, so there are multiple ways to get into this market. First of all, yes, you need to very well understand about the security landscape, which is presented here. And then there is one entity which is called as Qatar Financial Center, which is a regulator to help you establish your own startup, to register your own company here. So उसकी वेबसाइट जो है मैं ये चैट में शेयर कर दूंगा, उसमें सारी रेगुलेशंस और रिक्वायरमेंट्स और गाइडलाइंस जहाँ वहाँ पे अवेलेबल है, that you can help you out. So let's keep this discussion towards the more end of the session. उस पे हम मजीद बात करेंगे इसके ऊपर, ठीक है? तो let's move on Now, after understanding this landscape, we have a lot of, if we draw a bigger picture, we have a lot of opportunities for cybersecurity professionals to get into this market. And the very top one, and this is based on my own study or my own understanding, everyone may have a different point of view, but most of the people who are working in Qatar market would agree with me, is that the topmost currently is the digital skills gap, which creates an opportunity for the technology professionals, starting from the highest requirement here at the moment because of this Microsoft Azure agreement with the government is cloud specialists, particularly Microsoft Azure certified professionals. That's the one highest requirement here, which basically you can sell as a services if you are part of an SI, or if you're working from a company from Pakistan and wanted to deliver your services here remotely or directly. So the cloud and particularly Microsoft Azure related skill set is well in high in demand here. And similarly, that goes for the staff augmentation as well, if anyone wants to sell the skill set. So then second number, we have the cybersecurity, which is, as I said, like, the post FIFA, most of the companies have stopped further investing, or as government have stopped investing in development of the infrastructure. Now this phase is like, maintaining all of the developed infrastructure, or particularly the cybersecurity infrastructure. So in order to maintain all that infrastructure or the security components, you need to have a proper SOC in place, and then SOC needs to be empowered with the skilled analysts and so on. So intelligence professionals, you need, the pen testers, you need all that cyber defense and offense related professionals are required here in the region, and we'll discuss in detail about these things. And then the third is AI and others. And then we have cybersecurity and data privacy and protection concerns, which we need to understand as the cybersecurity professionals here, which basically opens the doors for us to go and talk to the organizations or your very management as well, in order to help them solving their own corporate challenges. So that we will discuss as well. Third thing is, which we need to understand here, what are the regulatory frameworks which every organization demands here to comply with. Even if you are working for an end customer organization, you need to be aware of these frameworks so that you are well equipped with required knowledge of these frameworks to deliver your services to your organization or to your customers, or if you are part of the system integrator, to deliver your technology components compliant with these regulatory frameworks. And the rest, there are other opportunities as well, which of course is beyond cybersecurity domain though, but it's good to know that when they are quite focusing on developing the strong innovation ecosystem as part of Qatar Financial Center and the MCIT. TASMO is one of the project. Anyone who would be interested to know more about their innovation efforts, please go to the MCIT website, and can find a lot of the details there. Digital Valley and TASMO, these are the names which can find a lot. And then there's a massive e-commerce growth found here. Local startups are increasing in a rapid pace. And that is one of the opportunity which you can talk about. Digital literacy is increasing, and day by day, the use of a more advanced tools by the public, such as ChatGPT and these kind of tools are coming on your handheld devices, results in increase in the digital literacy, is resulting in the high demand of your the mobile-based applications. So the mobile application development is one of the area which is quite high in demand here. And then we have government digital services, such as one of our brother just asked, like how to register a company here. That's all completely online as a government digital service. So if you wanted to work as, for example, as a consultant advisor to the people who are willing to register their organizations here, that's one of the good business also. But you need to understand these what services are being offered. So by considering the time factor, I'll jump. I'll try to move fast more. So this is based on my own analysis. These are the 4 or the 6 core areas which are considered to be the market trends within Qatar market in 2025. So the topmost are the among these 6 would be, I would rate skilled manpower as number 1 based on the recent surveys, because that I'll discuss in the next slide why. And then rest is the data privacy standards are being developed now and going to be rolled out very soon. Standards are there and privacy related, and there's a realization of establishing the DPOs as well, but it's still in a very infancy stage, the infant stage at the moment. To define or to formalize the DPOs or the privacy related initiatives in the organization as a separate independent enterprise level initiative. So that's coming up quite high in this year. And then we have security monitoring, which is SOCs. So there's quite many SOCs were designed and deployed and operationalized in the past few years, but now we need to have the resources to deliver that. So most of the organizations have opted for or outsourcing that activity. So anyone who has capable to deliver SOC as a service, I think that he is the king in this area. And then cloud security, yes, considering the Microsoft Azure stake, if anyone is strong into Microsoft Azure security or the security stack for Microsoft services, I think that's the strongest area when anyone can get in. And then from an industrial standpoint, we have smart cities initiatives which have been taken at the government. So IoT and the related security stuff is one of the area which niche area which many organizations can be seen working in this area, but it can be developed or based on the market share. And then last is the OT security. Yes, our energy race or the competition is on the hype now at the moment. So the Qatar Petroleum has changed the direction to become the Qatar Energy. So they are more started focusing on the green energy and so forth. But the basic concepts of securing the critical infrastructure in the industries going to remain the same. So the requirement for the cybersecurity professionals for having the OT side of the capability is still undebatable. That's mandatory. That's required. So based on this slide, so we will discuss about only the top 3 initiatives, opportunities in detail, starting from the skill set. So as per the most recent statistics, and that's been mentioned by the Minister of IT of Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in his talk just a couple of weeks back, that we need around 10 million technology professionals around the globe today, and that around 2 million are required in the region. So that includes all type of not only cyber. We need cloud professionals, we need data scientists, we need AI professionals, we need ethical AI professionals as well, the privacy professionals and so forth. However, roughly around, it's been estimated that 2 million of the professionals, technology professionals are required in the region. But if I try to correlate based on these surveys, which I participated and contributed as well, which happened back in 2020, is that there were a need of around 100,000 cybersecurity professionals in Qatar only that time because of the highest in demand requirement as part of the FIFA related preparations of that time. If I try to correlate that thing, that's still the need is quite high here. And that opens the doors for cybersecurity professionals who are willing to come and work for the organizations here or who are willing to being part of any um, the technology vendors or system integrators or professional consultancy firms who are willing to come here and deliver their services. That's still very applicable that use the need of staff augmentation model. So the three highest needed roles are or competencies are required, which is one is cloud security, which I have mentioned. And the second thing is the L2 or L3 level resources. The part of the SOC is the threat intelligence experts. The normal traditional analysts are still required, yes, but with the TI or threat intel expertise, really, helps a lot, and this is high in demand at the moment. If you know to implement a tip, I think you will be handpicked immediately, and this is the perception I have in the market. And then at the end, if you are L3 source and have expertise in the forensics as well, it is high in demand in particularly as part of the MSSPs here, which are quite well known, and they're still looking for such experts. So second is the cybersecurity data privacy and protection concerns. I'm sorry. So these are few. So first, as I mentioned in my previous discussion on the previous topic, is that there was a discussion about the or highlight, quite a lot. It was been mentioned that the Qatar national data is sensitive and should not go across the border. So that has to stay here in Qatar. So that basically become as a deterrent for cloud adoption as well. That resulted in a very slow cloud adoption or cloud migration efforts. But after Microsoft and Google came into Qatar, it has been addressed. And of course, it needs to be anyone who is willing to work in Qatar market or wanted to deliver his services. Please make sure that this market is the most preferred model is on-prem still as of today. But if organization agrees on cloud related implementation, that has to be on a local zone and only or primarily on Microsoft Azure. And then we have a very serious skills shortage, as I have repeatedly mentioned. So it's easy to get a card to play in the market to start delivering the professionals on a staff augmentation kind of a model. That helps a lot. And then because most of the organizations here, they consider from a cost benefit point of view, they started opting for outsourcing model. So it's more easier to sell professionals on a contract or augmentation model or as a service, there's a SOC as a service or project as a service and so forth. So now the last is the from a privacy standpoint, still, as I said, the regulators have realized the importance of it, and now they started legislating the privacy related standards and the policies. Though the judiciary have the discussions are going on at the moment, but they have not formally announced and adopted the processing of digital form of evidences at the moment. So the cybercrime law and the data protection law are still, that's was the reason that because the implementation of these laws have been delayed. By the way, for privacy, there was a law announced back in 2016, which is Data Protection Law number 13 of 2016. So it's been 8 years now, and now still within this 8 years, it has not been enforced. That was a very reason why. And then at the end, the industry-specific guidelines are very strict and stringent, and it's not easy to comply with because in Qatar, every industry have like 2 or 3 major accounts. Or I think the only, not even major, only comprising of 2 or 3 accounts. Let's say if you talk about telcos, there are only 2 companies. So the Uridu, if it makes like, the standard, so their requirements are too aggressive and too stringent that it's not cost beneficial to develop a competency for that particular industry to deliver because you got only 1 or 2 companies to work with. You'll not get much of the business. The market is so small. And that's why it's not very healthy for a small players to come up with the very industry specific expertise because it's too costly and there's no much market stake on that as well. Okay, so till now, any questions? Because now I think we are done with our major discussion. So this section, we're going to be talking about the regulatory frameworks, which each framework require one separate dedicated session on its own. However, Minal, considering the time factor, we are already, I think, done with the time, but we'll take time for the Q&A. But I would really love to touch upon some of the frameworks and give a highlight so that everyone gets a feeler of what type of these frameworks are and how difficult it is to comply with that, and how important it is to know about these frameworks when you are going to open up the discussions with your customers and the managements. But till now, any questions, gentlemen, or shall I complete this section first and then we can open the Q&A? Shazad bhai, what's your take?
Hi. Assalamu alaikum.
Salam wa rahmatullah.
I just wanted to know that regarding the age in the Qatar job market, how it impacts.
Sorry, miss your first part of the question. Can you come again?
My question is regarding the age for the Qatar job market, how the age is impacting the job for the participant.
See, honestly speaking, as far as cybersecurity is concerned, age is still not a big deterrent for to cover up this skill shortage here. They do not consider very seriously the age factor, as far as it's not directly conflicting with the labor law. As you know that when the maximum age here of working or for residents is 60. After that, it's not you cannot be resident here anymore. It's very difficult unless you secure an exception. So otherwise, there is no direct implication so far has been observed on the age factor. You can walk in, you can come. Companies are looking for expertise, not from some of the organizations, yes, look for a long-term engagement for the employees, but most of them are not, as far as cyber is concerned. I hope I answered the question. So I guess let's complete this session. So can I have just a glimpse of how many people are really interested to know more about the standards, the frameworks in Qatar market? If anyone can raise, people can raise their hands. So we got 2 people only. Right.
Yeah, in the meantime, Mr. Ahmed Javed, there is a question. If it is an appropriate time, or I can ask it later.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. While you were defining all the standards, you touched OTs, you touched privacy, multiple things. How about the AI standard? Is there anything being made for regarding AI systems? Any compliance regarding that, or any standard which Qatar is looking into? Like here in Saudi Arabia, in comparison, there is Sadaya, right? See, there is.
Yeah, so I got it. I got the
Okay.
question. So there is one recent guidelines which have been released by the NCSA, which is referred as a secure AI adoption. So that is anyone who is familiar about the new endeavor of or the new emerging field, which is basically a merger of privacy and AI, which we call it as ethical AI or responsible AI or AI governance. So that's related to that. That's what we'll talk about it. Yes, there is AI related guidelines and policies, but those are yet not been enforced to comply. Those are still guidelines, are good to have because market is pretty immature at the moment to adopt a complete SDLC, AI specific SDLC models at the moment. I
Yeah.
hope I answered your question.
Just to add one more thing, like in Saudi Arabia, all the petroleum, like industries, they are getting all into it, and aggressively they are looking into their model. But this is just for an addition. Thank you very much for answering the question. Thank you.
Most welcome. So I'll just quickly touch upon these standards because it's going to take quite a lot of time, and each standard or framework itself is required minimum one or more sessions. So that's considering the time factor, man, I'll keep it short, and then we will open the session for any type of Q&A. So starting from regulatory frameworks, I mean, there are few which I have listed down, which I personally believe that anyone who is working in cybersecurity field related to the Qatar market should know about these standards and frameworks. So very first thing is that Qatar National Cybersecurity Strategy, which has been recently published, which is basically going to be the now directional cornerstone, which all the organizations are required to follow the direction given in this strategy. And then we have Qatar Cybersecurity, the famous Qatar Cybersecurity Framework. And then we have another famous NIA policy or standard, which became standard now. And then a recently launched data classification policy. And then we have cloud policy framework. And then we have privacy related data protection law. And at the end, which our just dear brother asked about this AI related. So there is a guideline for yes, it is just in a few minutes, I'll discuss more about this thing. So starting from the Qatar National Cybersecurity, so first everyone should understand here that Qatar as a country has actually announced their Qatar 2030 vision. So every sector, every domain, or every national initiative is basically needs to comply with that directional pointers which are given in that vision. So same that goes with this Qatar cybersecurity strategy, which primarily is based on 5 pillars. The first pillar is Qatar cybersecurity resilience in the Qatar system. So that this pillar talks about all the cybersecurity or the security stack which is developed, or let's say technology stack which is developed needs to be secure and resilient enough to ensure the continuity of those systems and robustness as well. So that initiative is talk about these things. And then the second thing is legislation, regulation, and law enforcement, which is the development of required and relevant policies and procedures and enforcement of the same. The third thing is related to the innovation and the data-driven economy, which is developing the R&D practices and more innovative, adopting and more innovative approaches, and of course contributing into the development of their respective fields. The fourth is the development or the empowerment of the workforce, which is more training and awareness kind of efforts which have been taken up by the organizations and the national bodies. And the fifth one is talks about the partnerships and alliances with their national and international, the partners and alliances. So this whole thing develops the overall their security strategy framework and directional guidelines for any organization to comply with. So this is good to know about these things so that everyone who is basically developing a part of developing their budgets, organization budgets, or part of positioning their services is a good startup, a discussion with any of the decision makers in the organization. Then we got the famous Qatar Cybersecurity Framework. It was formerly known as a FIFA Cybersecurity Framework 2022. It was specifically developed or created by the MOI CSC, which is Cybersecurity Center, of course, with the help of some consultants. And then later on, this framework was developed primarily as a guideline for the organizations to follow and strengthen their security stacks within the organization. Now, it was been so well received by the market or by the organizations that now till today, even after so many few years of FIFA, still it's been followed, and it has been renamed, and still the compliance or achieve the struggle to achieve the compliance for this framework is still going on. The efforts are still on, and there is a decision that gonna be still this framework gonna be kept as a primary guidelines for the organizations to strengthen their security infrastructure. Now, this framework demands any organizations, you can all see I have numbered the capabilities. These are called as capabilities from 1 to 13, but I usually count the first top one, which is establishment of the cybersecurity governance, as a first initial capability for every organization to define the governance framework first, policies and procedures, and then you start with it. And that it is divided into the 3 phases, which is prevention, detection, and response. So development and enforcing of these 14 capabilities are required for most of the organizations in Qatar now, and their regulators are assessing their compliance against it. So some of the companies are, of course, are not all of the capabilities are relevant or required. So whatever capabilities are required, that is, needs to be implemented, and the maturity of each capability is assessed at least once in a year by the regulators. And then we have the famous National Information Assurance Standard, which used to be previously formally called as National Information Assurance Policy 2.0. When the 2.1 got released, it became a standard. It was developed even before, prior to establishment of NCSA, but it was developed by QCert when it used to be part of MCIT, and then the same MCIT became MOTC, and now the same QCert became joined and established the NCSA. So this standard is still there, but it has not been yet enforced as a mandatory standard to be followed, but still being followed as a good practice to define the information security governance framework for the organizations. So this standard was primarily developed based on ISO 27001, So I'm not mentioning any global practices. All those global practices and standards and policies are yet applicable in the same manner as anywhere in the part of the world, including ISO 27001 or 22301 for BCMS and so forth. So this National Information Assurance Standard was primarily developed based on the ISO 27001, but with some core improvements considering the local and domestic needs of the market, such as in ISO, you can play with the scope. You can pick and choose any scope, like a product, like a process, like a department, or like one site or something. Here it's no. NIA mandates the scope has to be full organizations, full stop, else not. And then it has two streams of the controls. One is the security governance and processes. And other is the technical control areas. Both have 13 control areas defined in their sections to be implemented and, ensure that the right security controls designs are effective and efficient. Then we have recently deployed or a published policy, which is called as Data Classification Policy 3.0. It used to be, actually, it was developed long back, but got published recently. It was developed as part of the NIA, National Information Assurance Policy. But now, since the reason it has been separated because it became a simple standalone policy to be referred to as respect to any other different areas of cybersecurity domain. Now, this basically policy mandates the 5 levels of the classification, starting from C0 to C4. C0 means public, and C1 is data for internal use. C2, C3, C4. Yeah. Sorry, there is a mic open for someone, so I thought that someone is talking. So C4 is primarily the top secret, which is meant for only access by intended eyes or nationals only. So then we have cloud security, the cloud policy framework, which was developed by Communication Regulatory Authority. So initially it was been perceived that this framework is a cloud technology specific, but it happened to be a very much cloud security framework. So it's one of the good framework to follow when any organization is considering to move to the cloud or migrate the data to the cloud, or for those service providers who are offering services for cloud adoption or cloud migration. Then we have Data Protection Law number 13 of 2016. Simply, I would like to say only on this thing that this is basically the GDPR of Qatar. So I don't think that one full session will justify that how massive it is, but we can have a separate discussions later on some other session on this. It's quite a detailed one. So this is the core law for privacy related professionals and privacy related service providers. And then that last, one of the brother asked for the AI related guidelines. So these are the guidelines. It's all those snapshots which have been shown on the screen are taken from those documents which have been publicly released. So it's publicly available. Anyone who would like to get those documents, please drop me a note or WhatsApp or in the group or something. I will reach out and I'll share those documents in the groups as well. So these are the standard guidelines. So for this guideline is basically is all about ensuring the security within the part of the complete AI system development lifecycle, where we basically ensure that data sets are right, well tested, which we are basically passing to our models to to train and ensuring that there are no biases, and to ensure the fairness and the transparency in the systems, AI systems, and ensure that all that usage of AI technology is as responsible as ethically required.